Welcome to Ecclesia Principles, a biblical strategy for believers to engage in God's design for government with Ray Eppard.
Hello, glad you could join us again today. We're looking at what we're calling the spiritual dynamics of government. Now, last week and then also yesterday, we've been talking about the process of building a stronghold. Now, it may not seem like that is relative to government, but ultimately, the crowning achievement of the spiritual wickedness in heavenly places is to institutionalize their designs, their plans into government, so that their thoughts of disobedience, that the information that they are exalting against the knowledge of God becomes a stronghold and becomes, if you would, the law of the land. The spiritual dynamics of government. Let's read 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 5. And yesterday we introduced the third step of creating a stronghold, and that is when the thoughts and the information become arguments. He says, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. You see the process, the thought first, entertaining it becoming an important thought, it begins to acknowledge itself as being more important than what God says, and then it becomes an argument. If you look at our culture, it started out really, let's say, in the 60s. There were other things before that, but especially with some of the things that we're talking about right now, the idea in the 60s was more like, well, everything should just be okay, and we should just be able to be happy with each other. And it was a very loose environment. And the thoughts of having boundaries, having guidelines, everybody should just be free, just be free. That thought became prevalent during that time. And if you would, the next step, the exalting itself against the knowledge of God, that whole concept then a couple decades later began to be more of a, well, shouldn't that be my right? Shouldn't I have the right to be free? Well, it's not talking about liberty. It's, in that sense, freedom is a realm without boundaries. Liberty is freedom within a framework, if you would. Now, what most people talk about freedom is, I get to do what I want, no boundaries. And it began to move that. And really, where we are now is we are in the place of arguments. It is not friendly anymore. It is not at the place where, shouldn't this be all right? It is demanding. It is arguing the point. At that juncture, that has become a stronghold. And the more that's the case within a community, a state, a region, a nation, the more there are advocating for that with their arguments, emotionally charged arguments, the stronger that stronghold has become. And with that, again, the thing we're talking about is the spiritual dynamics of government. When it reaches that point, then it becomes an issue of how government should respond to it. Should it become institutionalized in society through laws, through regulations, so forth and so on. Now, see, the thing we've got to remember is behind all of this is the spiritual host of wickedness in heavenly places, the rulers of the darkness of this world, the powers that are underneath of those, and then the local principalities, the spiritual realm that's involved with that has been pushing that agenda. See, ultimately, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against these principalities, powers, and so forth. And we have to understand that spiritual dynamic of government. Government is not purely natural. It is not purely human. Government is a target of the devil. In all honesty, government is a target of God's. God, we'll stop here because I need to take a little bit more time to get into this. But join us again tomorrow, and we'll discuss something extremely important to understand about the temptation of Jesus in this whole concept. See you tomorrow. God bless you.